The Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, has disclosed that Benin Republic and Togo owes Nigeria a total of $8.84 million, $13.45 billion for electricity consumed in the fourth quarter of 2024. And this was revealed in a recent report by NERC, which details the remittances made by both domestic and international customers. The three countries buy electricity from Nigeria through the Paras SBEE and the Transcorp SBEE from Benin Republic, Mainstream, Nigelec in Niger, and Odunkpani CET from Togo. A breakdown of the debt shows that 6 international bilateral customers supplied by Nigerian power generation companies, GENCOs, paid only $5.21 million out of the $14.05 million billed, representing a remittance performance of 37.08%. Now, among the international customers, Paras SBEE in Benin Republic paid $2.65 million. Paras CET, also in Benin, remitted $1.64 million. Transcorp SBEE Ugeli in Benin settled at $1.71 million of its $3.59 million invoice, while Transcorp SBEE Afam 3 paid $90 million out of $1.2 million $900 million out of $1.2 million. Amidst this high debt are some burning issues affecting Nigeria's electricity sector. Well, let's talk to Dr. Chukwu Eloka Ume. He is the managing director of Fedicore Limited. He joins us live from the United States of America to continue this conversation. It's good to see you, Dr. Ume. Thank you so much. Good morning. It's morning over there. Thank you for keeping a date with us.
Good morning, Tolu, and it's nice to be with you here.
All right, there. Well, NERC, like I said in my introduction, has revealed that 3 African countries owe Nigeria over $8 million in electricity bill. Now, considering our level of transmission, generation, I want to ask you if this is the way to go. And why do we have to let this debt accumulate to this level?
Well, Tolu, you know, we're providing a service to those countries. We're providing a commodity, electricity.
Yeah.
And you send your bill, that's supposed to pay your bill, right? But you know how it goes. Sometimes you send the bill and it takes time for people to pay. And some folks have asked the question, why are we providing electricity to some other countries when we don't even have enough to service our own country? Yeah. Well, the reason is very clear. We have a river that provides water for Kainji Dam. If these countries were to dam this river upstream of Nigeria, we would be in trouble as far as having Kainji Dam run. And as you know, our hydroelectricity makes up about 24% of the total electricity in the country. So it's important that we continue to service these countries. And we provide a community that they're supposed to pay for. Not everyone pays. You saw the fiasco we had, unfortunate fiasco we had some days ago, I think about a week ago, where the Air Force invaded Ikeja Disco's office and destroyed some property and injured several people simply because they turned off their light because they didn't pay the bill. So if our own government or some of our own government entities don't even pay the bill, who are we to tell a foreign country or tell foreign countries that they're not paying the bill? So these are things that we need to address in line of the electricity industry, getting it to work.
It's a big one, I must say. But let's come back home. And thanks for that explanation, at least making us understand it better. The unveiling of the National Integrated Electricity Policy, that's another document by the Ministry of Power. And many say it's marked a significant milestone in public policy formation for the Nigerian power sector. But like many Nigerians would say, and we've been saying this before now, we are never lacking policy documents. But implementation has been the challenge. What will be your reaction to this? We've had series of these policy documents before now.
Yes, this is true. We continue to update our policies, create new ones, and hopefully they're moving in the direction of goodness. You know, we're moving in the right direction as far as the policies go for the electricity industry. However, the devil is always in the detail. Are these policies actually helping to fix the sector? In some cases, yes, they're trying to decentralize the control of the power sector, which is a good thing. However, we need to put more effort into actually making the policies that have been created start to produce benefits that the Nigerian people can feel. We have given the power to states to run their own electricity commissions within their own boundaries. But how many states have actually taken the reins and started to control the electricity sector within their own boundaries? Less than 10, much less than 10. You know, Abia State just rolled theirs out about 2 weeks ago. But we need to put more energy in actually making things work. You know, I will always say that the entire power sector is broken. You know, the value chain is broken all the way from energy, the fuel, whether it's gas or oil or whatever, to distribution. We need to put more effort into making these parts of the sector work. Now, you would ask me how, and I'll say, think about gas. We produce a lot of gas in Nigeria, but most of that gas goes overseas as liquefied natural gas so that we can earn foreign exchange. But where does this foreign exchange go when it comes? Do we plow some of that money back to help the power sector? Some of that money, when we bring it into the power sector, it goes as grants or bailouts for the discos. Some of it goes to the transmission company. How much of it goes to generation? How much of it goes to build pipelines in the country? You know, we don't have a proper gas grid in the country. So you don't have fuel getting to every part of the country. This is a big fail. Then TCN has outdated infrastructure. As of today, we're still talking about having a willing capacity of about 7,000 megawatts of electricity in Nigeria for TCN. That is abysmal. Where our closest neighbor, Egypt, is doing about 60,000 megawatts. We're still talking about 7,000 for TCN. You know, the list is endless. So we need to actually start now looking at how these new rules are actually going to be put into practice to make real benefits that people can see, people can feel. That's where we need to be looking at.
Very touching one there, you know, looking at our level of generation at this very critical time and what TCN can wheel out. And even with all of the efforts, we've been hovering between 5,000 and a bit above 5,000 for a country of 200 million people. And South Africa over there is doing more than 100,000, I think, megawatt. But that's not my next question, really. But it's torching, and I believe a lot of work needs to be done in that segment of Nigeria's economy. NERC, again, in another report, says Nigerians spent a total of 509.8 billion naira on electricity bill in the last quarter of 2024, a sharp increase from 466.6 billion that was spent in the third quarter. This amid grid collapses, infrastructure issues that we've had. Now, for me as a customer, a band A customer, where do we stand in all of this? Because it seems like the discos have gotten their cost-reflective tariff, and we are just where we are. Yeah, that's the truth, Dr. Owing. We are just where we are. At times the power is available, and sometimes you hear the grid is off, and we are back to square one.
All right, so let's put this in context. I'm currently sitting in the United States, like you rightly pointed out. The average tariff in the US is 12 cents per kilowatt hour. Average tariff, band A tariff in Nigeria, if you look at today's exchange rate, is 15 cents. What is the minimum wage? Average minimum wage in the US is about $1,218. Minimum wage in Nigeria is $44. So someone that earns $1,218 a month is paying a tariff of 12 cents. But someone that earns $44 a month is expected to pay 15 cents per unit of electricity. Please make it make sense to me, because it doesn't make sense to me. You go over to Egypt that we spoke about already. Minimum wage in Egypt is about $194. But the electricity tariff is much less than the one in Nigeria. Make it make sense to me. It doesn't make sense to me. The challenge that I see is that we are always trying to copy other countries, but we're copying wrongly. We produce coal in Nigeria, a little coal. Where does that coal go? It goes to China. We don't have a coal-fired plant in Nigeria today because we are told that coal is dirty. True, coal is dirty. However, you cannot industrialize without using what you have. Yeah. We're being pushed to go and use solar. That's a good thing to use solar. We don't produce solar cells in Nigeria. We don't produce batteries for storage in Nigeria. We're going to import these things. Why are we not using the natural gas that we produce? Or more of it? Why are we not using coal that we produce? Why are we not using biomass that we produce a lot of in Nigeria? Because we keep borrowing from other countries and we're borrowing incorrectly. If I were to make these policies, my push would be whatever zone you are in, use whatever material that you have available. If you're in the north, yes, we can build a lot of solar plants in the north because they have the huge solar irradiance in the north. But they don't have gas. And to build a gas pipeline to the north will cost a lot of money. So we can start using what we have, solar and hydro. In the south, southeast, south, we have a lot of gas. We should have a lot of gas-fired plants in the south. In the southwest, we already have some transmission line going there. We already have some gas pipelines going there. We should use gas there. Use more of it. Can we stop focusing on exports and think home for a second? If people are trained properly, people would be able to produce. They'll be able to build businesses. They'll be able to build factories. They can farm. And we can actually use what we have to feed people. We go to schools today to earn degrees. A lot of times, those degrees mean nothing. People should be learning trades that they can actually use to produce something that makes sense. So we need to think back at the way our country is run. We need to think back at what we're doing as a country and go back to the basics. Without this, I don't even know where we're going.
A very serious one. Now let's look at the role of the Rural Electrification Agency. Well, a lot of talks around the REA, but in recent times I see them coming up with some moves around renewables and all. But I still see that we are slow in adoption. What to you, or what in your understanding are the contending issues?
You know, again, it's a matter of using what you have to produce what you need. REA is talking about using renewables to get electricity to the hinterlands where, well, they don't have access to the grid. That's okay. But which renewables are they talking about? Is it solar? Is it hydro? Is it biomass? We need to use what makes sense. We need to think about an energy mix that makes sense. Think about this. In other countries that we're copying from, they have a mixture of coal, natural gas, nuclear, biofuels, wind, solar. So we need to think on a larger scale. However, it's not just thinking about it. Who has access to the funding that comes from REA? Which companies have access to this money that comes from REA to produce this electricity that REA is trying to produce? We need to think about that. What is their capability? How much effort does it take to go after that money? If it's going to take me so much effort to go after that money, I'm not interested. I, as a company running Fedico, would think of going to a bank to borrow money. So these are some of there's a lot of barriers to entry to people that can actually make a difference in using the funds that are available from REA and the likes of them. So we need to go back to the drawing board of how we actually do things in this country and think, who are the people benefiting from this, from the efforts of REA? You know, REA is doing a good thing, I think. But if they are going to produce electricity in the hinterlands, the people that are getting this electricity, is it making the quality of their lives better? Are they going to be able to use this to actually help their trade? Those people that are trading, is it going to help the trade? So these are some of the things that we need to be thinking about. And within the energy mix, what exactly are they pushing? And does it make sense?
Well, it's always an interesting one discussing the sector with you, obviously. But what's the outlook, considering all of these challenges that we've identified and all of the supports that we still keep getting? I think we just need to get it right, because the power sector is the key to economic productivity of Nigeria, one way or the other.
You know, without the power sector working,
Yeah.
we are not going anywhere as a potential industrial nation. We are going nowhere. And if we think about where we've been and where we're going,
Yeah.
we continue to talk about 4,000, 5,000 megawatts year in, year out. The government continues to put money into one effort or the other, and they don't see the benefits that they hope to yield. I say take a look at what they've done in Egypt. It took them 5 years to take their power sector to produce about 57,000 megawatts. So it's doable. Now, how can they do this? Again, get the people that understand the sector, not the people that make the biggest noise, but those that actually understand the sector, empower them to do what needs to be done. Now, if the big companies haven't worked out for them, think of the small companies. Fedico, for example, my company, we borrowed money at a huge interest rate to build our 4 megawatt plant. We built that plant in 5 weeks. So it's doable. Now, if I was to sit down with the president, have a 30-minute conversation with the president, I'll say, Mr. President, what we need policies, or not even a policy, we need agreements that are signed and backed by the sovereign, that we can produce this amount of electricity, supply the electricity to these places, and these are the people that are going to pay for the electricity when it's supplied. And oh, by the way, we need single-digit loans from central bank, from Bank of Industry, from REA, whoever, to allow us to build plants that can actually provide electricity. We also need this money to produce the gas that we need. Single-digit loans to produce the gas that we need so that we can fire our plants. And then we need bankable agreements that we can go to bed knowing that these agreements are backed by law. That when we produce and distribute and supply, we will get paid. Do these 3 things, and I assure you, the sector will bounce. We will change, and we'll start to see the benefits to the Nigerian people. We can have our tariff come down if we have money that makes sense. I cannot compete with a Chinese company that comes here with interest rates of 2% or 3% from their country. I can't compete with an Indian company producing compressed natural gas, and they're borrowing money at 5% from their country, and I'm borrowing at 33%. How do I compete? It's not that we don't know what to do. We just need proper support. And we're not asking for handout from the government. We're asking for real money at interest rates that make sense. We're also asking for the government to provide proper support to companies like ours that can make a difference in the power sector. No more talk. It's not a political thing. It doesn't matter where we produce the electricity. It doesn't matter where we sell it to. It is for the entire country, Nigeria, our country.
All right, then.
If you don't do this, then we're just wasting our time, Tolu.
Dr. Chukweloka Ume, Chief Executive Officer, Fedico Limited, thank you so much for your time joining us live from the United States of America. We appreciate this. Enjoy your stay.